The darkness had lasted for 500,000 years. In the cold void beyond Neptune, buried inside a massive asteroid, something began to wake up. Lights flickered on for the first time in longer than most species had existed. Ancient machines, built to last forever, started working again. They had been waiting for a signal from Earth. That signal never came. Now the silence itself had triggered them. Jack Hayes opened his eyes. The pod around him hissed and opened, letting in cold air that hurt his lungs. His first breath in 500,000 years felt like swallowing ice. Numbers glowed on the screen above his face. He read them 3 times, hoping they were wrong. They were not wrong. He had been asleep for 847 years. Around him, other pods were opening. Men and women in military uniforms climbed out slowly, confused and scared. They were the crew of the warship Valiant, and they had volunteered for this mission knowing they might never see their own time again. But none of them had expected this much time to pass. Jack stood up, his legs shaking. His brain hurt as information flooded into his mind from the computer systems around him. The data made him feel sick. Earth was not talking. The colonies on Mars were silent. The space stations were dark. Every human signal in the entire solar system had stopped. Kate Morrison was the first person to speak. She was working at her computer station, her fingers moving fast across the glowing controls.
Commander Hayes, the sensors are starting up.
I cannot find any human signals anywhere. No radio, no messages, nothing at all. Jack walked over to her station. His heart was beating fast. What about Earth? Kate's face went pale as she looked at her screen. Earth is still there, sir. The planet is fine, but it has changed a lot. The air is different. The land is different. There are buildings down there, but they are not sending out any signals we know. Jack looked at the main screen. It showed Earth, still blue and beautiful, still turning in space. But the continents were wrong. The ice caps were in different places. The coastlines had moved. 500,000 years had changed everything. Are there any people down there? He asked quietly. Kate checked her readings. There is life, yes, lots of it. But I cannot find any human life signs. Commander, if there are humans on Earth, they are not using any technology we would recognize. The other crew members had gathered around now. Greg Palmer, who controlled the ship's weapons, stood with his arms crossed. His face looked angry. What about the fleet? The other ships? Jack turned to face everyone. That is why we are here. We are part of the Fleet Reserve. 12 secret bases hidden all over the outer solar system. 6,000 warships kept in storage waiting for an emergency that would threaten Earth. I think that emergency happened, Greg said, and we are about 500,000 years too late. Jack shook his head. Maybe, but we still have our orders. If humanity goes silent, if Earth goes dark, we wake up. We find out what happened. We deal with any threats that still exist. He pulled up a list of ships on the screen. It was a long list. Huge battleships that could destroy planets. Carriers full of fighter craft. Destroyers with weapons that could rip holes in space itself. All of them had been waiting in the dark, just like the Valiant. Turn on the fleet, Jack ordered. All ships. Start the wake-up process for everyone. Kate looked worried. Sir, that will create a huge energy signal. If anyone is watching, they will know we are here. Good, Jack said. Let them know. This is human space, and we are back. All across the dark edge of the solar system, in 11 other hidden bases, the same thing was happening. Thousands of ships were waking up. Their crews were climbing out of their sleep pods, reading the same terrible numbers, learning the same horrible truth. Everything they had known was gone. Everyone they had loved was dead, buried under 500,000 years of time. But they were military people. They had a job to do. Captain Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the Defiant, a warship so big it had its own city inside it. Her ship was coming alive around her. Engines were starting. Weapons were powering up. Shields were turning on. The Defiant had been built to lead fleets into battle, to protect humanity from any enemy. Now it might be the last warship humanity had. All stations are ready, Captain. Her second-in-command, Paul Chen, said. Reactors are running. Weapons are online. Shields are at full power. We are ready for anything. Lisa nodded and looked at her tactical display. All around her ship, other ships were turning on their lights. The fleet was forming up, arranging itself in battle formation. Big ships in the center, carriers behind them, smaller ships forming a protective wall around the others. It was a formation made to fight an enemy fleet, but they had no idea if there was any enemy left to fight. Communications, Lisa said. Can we talk to Commander Hayes? Yes, ma'am, Danny Price said. He wants all the captains to join a virtual meeting in 10 minutes. The meeting happened in a computer-generated room. Hundreds of captains and commanders appeared as digital images, standing around Jack Hayes. Everyone looked scared and lost. Nobody knew what to do. Jack started talking. I know you are all looking at the same information I am. I know you are all asking the same questions. What happened to Earth? Where did humanity go? What do we do now? He showed them a map of the solar system. Here is what we know. Earth is still there, but it has changed. The planet has evolved naturally over 500,000 years. There are structures on the surface and in space, but they do not answer our calls. They do not look like anything humans would build. One captain asked, could they be human descendants? Maybe humanity survived but lost their technology? Maybe, Jack said. But if so, why are they not responding? We are broadcasting on every frequency we know. We are using every language in our database. Nothing works. Another officer asked about the colonies. Jack's face looked grim. Mars is in ruins. The colonies there have been empty for a very long time. As for the other colonies and the generation ships, we are still looking. But so far we have found nothing. It is like everyone just disappeared. The room went quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Finally, Captain Alan Foster spoke. Commander Hayes, I think we all know this was not natural. Something destroyed humanity. Something powerful enough to reach every colony, every ship, every outpost. And that something might still be out there. Jack nodded. I agree. So we need to find out what happened. We need to be ready in case it happens again. I am splitting the fleet into 3 groups. I will take one group and go to Earth. We need to know what is on that planet. Captain Grant will take another group and search the inner solar system. Look for survivors, look for records, look for anything that tells us what happened. Captain Foster will take the 3rd group and search the outer colonies and look beyond our solar system for any signs of humans. He looked at everyone. We were put to sleep to be humanity's last defense. We may have woken up too late to save them, but we can still find out what happened. And if there is any enemy out there that thinks humanity is extinct, we are going to prove them wrong. Nobody had any questions. They all knew what they had to do. Then let us get to work, Jack said. Humanity is counting on us. Even if they do not know it yet. 200 warships moved toward Earth in a defensive formation. Jack Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the planet grow larger on the screen. His weapons were ready. His shields were at maximum power. But the planet below showed no signs of caring. It just kept spinning silently in space. The cities were wrong. That was the first thing Jack noticed. They were still there. Huge towers reaching into the sky, but they were covered in plants. Green vines and trees grew all over them, as if the buildings and nature had merged together. Bridges connected the towers at different heights, creating a web of walkways. It looked beautiful and alien at the same time. Analysis complete, Kate Morrison said. Commander, there are millions of life forms down there. They have complex brains. They use tools. They live in organized groups. They are concentrated in and around the structures. Are they human? Jack asked. Kate hesitated. I cannot tell for sure without getting a sample. But based on their shape, no, sir. They are not human. They walk on 4 legs. They are about the size of large dogs. They have arms with hands. They built those cities, or at least they maintain them. Jack felt something cold in his chest. So humanity is gone, replaced? Maybe, Greg Palmer said, looking at his own screen. But Commander, look at this. There is technology down there. Advanced technology. It is subtle, built into the environment, but it is there. Power generation, computer networks, maybe even communication systems. These creatures, whatever they are not primitive. Can we talk to them? Jack asked. I am trying, sir, Kate said. But they are not responding to any of our signals. Either they do not understand us or they are choosing not to answer. Jack made his decision quickly. Prepare a landing party. 6 people. Full combat gear. But set weapons to stun only unless I say otherwise. Kate, Greg, you are coming with me. We are going down there. Sir, is that safe? Greg asked. We do not know what we are walking into. That is exactly why we need to go, Jack said. We can scan from up here all day, but we will not get real answers until we land. I want to see with my own eyes what happened to Earth. The shuttle dropped through Earth's atmosphere. Jack watched through the window as they fell through clouds. The clouds looked the same as he remembered, even though everything else had changed. That made him feel a little better. They landed in what should have been the middle of an ocean but was now dry land covered in one of the massive cities. The towers rose around them like frozen waterfalls made of metal and stone. Gardens cascaded down their sides. Bridges connected everything together, creating a three-dimensional maze. And on those bridges, Jack could see them. The beings that now lived on Earth. They were beautiful in a strange way. They had sleek bodies covered in fur that changed colors in the sunlight. Forelegs moved with smooth grace. Their hands held tools and moved objects with clear intelligence and purpose. They were not human, but they were definitely thinking, feeling creatures. When Jack and his team walked out of the shuttle, a group of the beings approached slowly. They moved together in an organized way, and Jack was reminded of diplomats. One of them, bigger than the others and marked with special patterns on its fur, stepped forward. It looked at Jack with eyes that held clear intelligence. Then it did something Jack did not expect. It placed one hand over its chest and bowed its head. A gesture of respect. Jack, after a moment of surprise, did the same thing back. The being straightened up and reached out with one hand, palm up, offering peace. In its palm was a small crystal that glowed with soft light. Jack took it carefully. The moment his fingers touched the crystal, his brain implant activated. Information poured into his mind. Not words, but ideas, pictures, feelings. A story told without language. He saw humanity as these beings remembered them. Powerful and vast, spreading across the stars. But he also saw humanity's end. It was not a war. It was not a disaster. It was a choice. Humanity had evolved beyond physical bodies and left to explore dimensions beyond normal space. They had abandoned Earth, abandoned the physical universe, ascending to something greater. But before they left, they had created caretakers. These beings, made from Earth's own animals, given intelligence and a sacred duty, care for the homeworld until humanity returned, or until new intelligence arose to take over the stars. For 500,000 years, they had kept that watch, maintaining the cities, preserving knowledge, protecting the planet, waiting for humanity to come home. And now, in a way, humanity had returned. Jack opened his eyes. Tears were running down his face. "They are not our replacements," he said to his team. "They are our children, and they have been waiting for us." The news spread through the fleet quickly. The other battle groups returned with their own discoveries. Mars had ruins that told of a slow, peaceful departure, not a catastrophe. The outer colonies were empty because people had simply left, and in hidden storage vaults they found records, quantum computers that had preserved the story of humanity's great transcendence. Humanity had not died. They had evolved into something beyond physical existence and departed for higher dimensions. They had left behind their legacy and their guardians. But Jack could not shake a feeling that something was wrong. He called a meeting with the senior captains. They met in person aboard the Valiant. "If humanity left peacefully," Jack said, "if they transcended willingly, then why did they activate us?" The protocols were clear. We only wake up if humanity goes silent because of an existential threat. Not if they evolve. Not if they leave. Only if they are in danger. Lisa Grant nodded slowly. "You think the transcendence was not the whole story?" "I think there was a reason humanity wanted a military fleet on standby," Jack said. "I think they knew something was coming." Kate pulled up data from the Guardian's records. "Sir, I have been studying the information the Keepers have been sharing with us. That is what they call themselves, the Keepers. There is a gap in their records. About 200,000 years ago, the historical data becomes broken, almost corrupted. They do not talk about it much. But when they do, I sense fear." "Fear of what?" Alan Foster asked. Kate's hands moved across her controls, pulling up a star map. "Look at this. This shows nearby star systems as recorded by the Keepers over the past 500,000 years. The display showed hundreds of stars near Earth. But Jack noticed something strange. "These systems," he said, pointing to a group of stars about 50 light-years away. "They are dark. When did they go silent?" "That is the thing, sir," Kate said, her voice grim. "They started going silent 200,000 years ago. One by one, star systems stopped making any technology signals. No radio, no signs of fusion power, no spacecraft, just silence." Greg zoomed in on the affected area. "It is spreading. Look at the pattern. It is not random. It is moving outward from a central point like a wave." And Commander, if you calculate the rate of expansion, Jack felt his blood turn cold. When does it reach Earth? At the current rate, about 5,000 years from now, Greg said. Give or take a few centuries. That is why they activated us, Lisa said quietly. Not because humanity was dying. Because they knew something was coming that would threaten Earth. They transcended to escape it, but they left us behind to defend the planet. Jack stood up and started pacing. We need more information. Kate, send a deep space probe to the nearest silent system. Make it fast. Jump in, scan, jump out before whatever is there can respond. We need to know what we are facing. I can have a probe ready in 6 hours, Kate said. Make it 3, Jack ordered. Alan, put the fleet on full alert. Battle stations, but keep weapons powered down. We do not want to start a fight. But I want us ready to respond instantly. Alan nodded. What about the Keepers? Do we tell them what we found? Jack thought for a moment. Yes, they have guarded Earth for 500,000 years. They deserve to know the watch is not over, and we may need their help. The probe launched 3 hours later. It was small and fast, equipped with the best sensors the fleet had. A quantum communication link would let it send information back instantly, even across light years. It would take 3 months to reach the nearest silent system at maximum faster than light speed. The crew of the Valiant could only wait. While they waited, Jack met with the Keepers on Earth's surface. The meeting took place in a forest that had once been a human city. Trees grew where buildings had stood. A stream ran where streets had been. Nature had reclaimed everything, but in a beautiful, intentional way. The elder Keeper sat across from Jack. They communicated through the translation crystals. Thoughts flowing between species without words, we knew. The elder's thought said, or we suspected. The ancient records from when the creators left, they speak of a great silence spreading through the stars. The creators said they were leaving, but also that they were hiding. They built shelters, refuges, places where physical life could survive. Earth was meant to be one of them. They built us, Jack said. The reserve fleet. We are one of those shelters. Yes, the elder confirmed. The creators hoped the silence would pass. They hoped their transcended selves could stop it. But they prepared for the possibility that physical force would be needed. You are that force. Jack looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, the wave of silence was moving closer. Do you know what causes it? No, the elder admitted. Only that when it touches a world, all complexity stops. Life remains, but intelligence disappears. It is as if consciousness itself is being harvested. What remains has only instinct and simplicity. A chill ran down Jack's spine. An enemy that did not destroy but diminished. That turned civilizations into animals. That left worlds whole but robbed them of meaning. It was worse than any weapon he could imagine. Then we will stop it, Jack said firmly. Humanity trusted us to defend Earth. We will not fail. The 3 months passed slowly. The fleet stayed on alert. Ships patrolled the outer system. Crews trained constantly, preparing for an enemy they did not understand. The Keepers shared their knowledge, teaching the humans about the changes to Earth, showing them the hidden vaults where human technology and culture had been preserved. Jack spent hours in those vaults, reading about the world he had lost. He learned about the centuries after he had gone to sleep. The gradual expansion to the stars. The first contact with alien life, species that had proven friendly and peaceful. The development of transcendence technology. The ability to evolve consciousness beyond physical form. And finally, the decision to leave, made not out of fear but out of a desire to explore realms beyond normal existence. But he also found classified files, military reports from just before the transcendence. Reports about the spreading silence, about civilizations going dark, about probes sent into affected systems that never returned, about the decision to leave the physical universe but also to leave behind defenders just in case. When the probe's data finally arrived, Jack was in the vault. An alarm sounded on his communicator. He ran back to the shuttle and flew up to the Valiant as fast as the ship could go. The command staff was already gathered on the bridge when he arrived. Kate had the probe's data displayed on the main screen. Her face was pale. "Show me," Jack said. The image that appeared made everyone in the room go quiet. The system they had scanned looked normal at first. Planets still orbited their star. Moons still circled planets. But there was no technology anywhere. No cities, no satellites, no signs of intelligence at all. Life existed, simple bacterial life, but nothing more. What had been a thriving civilization was now just empty worlds. But that is not the worst part, Kate said. She zoomed in on the edge of the system. Look at this. A structure appeared on the screen. It was huge, the size of a small moon, but its shape made no sense. It seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, parts of it fading in and out of normal space. It was dormant, sleeping, but clearly artificial. Clearly built with purpose. What is it? Lisa Grant asked. She had come aboard the Valiant for the briefing. Kate pulled up the sensor analysis. It is some kind of suppression field generator. When it activates, it does not destroy matter or energy. It forces the universe around it into lower entropy states. Complex molecules break down into simpler ones. Neural networks lose coherence. Consciousness becomes impossible. Can we destroy it? Greg asked. Unknown, Kate admitted. Our weapons are designed to affect normal matter and energy. This thing exists partially outside our dimension. Shooting it might do nothing, or it might trigger it early. Jack studied the image. How many more of these devices are there? Based on the pattern of silent systems, Kate said, I estimate thousands, maybe tens of thousands. They are spread throughout this region of the galaxy, creating a sphere of silence hundreds of light years across. And it is still growing. The room fell silent. The scale of the threat was overwhelming. 6,000 ships, no matter how powerful, could not fight thousands of dimensional devices spread across hundreds of light years. Alan Foster spoke up. So what is the plan, Commander? We cannot fight thousands of these things. Jack was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, though there was no humor in it. We do not fight thousands of them. We find whoever built them, and we make them turn the devices off. Sir? Kate said, confused. Think about it, Jack explained. These devices are incredibly sophisticated. They exist partially outside our dimension. They are coordinated across light years. They selectively target consciousness. That level of technology does not just happen. Someone built them. Someone deployed them. Someone is controlling them. Why would anyone build something like this? Lisa asked. What is the purpose? I do not know, Jack admitted. Maybe they see consciousness as a threat. Maybe they are harvesting it for some reason. Maybe they think they are helping, making the universe simpler and easier. It does not matter. What matters is we find them and stop them. He pulled up a star chart showing the sphere of silence. The pattern suggests the control center, or the builders, should be somewhere near the center of the expansion. That is where we are going. That is 100 light years into the silent zone, Greg objected. We do not know what defenses they have. Then we will find out, Jack said. This is what we were built for, not to defend Earth from human enemies, but to defend it from anything that threatens existence itself. And this is the biggest threat Earth has ever faced. He looked at each officer in turn. I will not order anyone to come. We are talking about jumping into unknown space, facing an enemy we do not understand, with no guarantee we will win or even survive. But if we do not try, in 5,000 years Earth goes silent like all the others. The Keepers and all their work will be for nothing, and humanity, wherever they are, will come back to find their homeworld empty. He paused. So I'm asking for volunteers. Who is with me? Every officer stood up. The fleet is ready, Commander, Lisa said with a fierce smile. Let us remind the galaxy why they should fear humanity. The preparations took 2 months. The fleet organized into a massive spearhead formation. The biggest ships at the front, the faster ships ready to exploit any breakthrough. They left 200 ships behind to defend Earth if the worst happened and the fleet failed. The Keepers watched them prepare. They sent messages of hope and courage in both human languages and their own. Jack stood on the Valiant's bridge as they prepared to jump. 6,000 ships arrayed behind him, their lights blazing in the darkness, ready to face the unknown. All ships report ready, Kate announced. Jump coordinates locked, faster than light drives charging. Jack thought about humanity somewhere in higher dimensions. He thought about the Keepers faithful for 500,000 years. He thought about Earth, blue and beautiful and worth defending. All ships, he broadcast on the fleet channel. 500,000 years ago, humanity built us to defend Earth. Today, we honor that purpose. Whatever is silencing the stars, they are about to learn that humanity never left. We just sleep. And now we are awake, he gave the order. Fleet jump. 6,000 warships vanished from the solar system in a flash of light. The jump took 3 weeks, not because of distance, but because they were moving carefully. The fleet would jump forward, scan the surrounding space, then jump again. Each time they moved deeper into the silent zone. Each time the universe around them felt more wrong. Jack noticed it first on the 5th day. The stars looked normal, but something felt off. Kate confirmed his suspicions when she ran detailed scans. "Commander, the background quantum fluctuations are decreasing. The universe here is more ordered, more stable. It is subtle but measurable. We are moving into a region where entropy is being artificially reduced." "What does that mean for us?" Greg asked. "Unknown," Kate said. "Our ships are shielded. Our consciousness is protected by our neural implants and ship systems. But if we lose power, if our shields fail, we might be affected too." Jack ordered extra power diverted to shields and life support. The fleet continued forward. On the 10th day, they found their first silent world. It orbited a yellow star similar to Earth's sun. The planet was beautiful, covered in blue oceans and green continents. But when they scanned it, they found no cities, no technology, no intelligence, just plants and simple animals. According to the Keeper's records, Kate said, this world had a civilization of 2 billion people. They were peaceful, focused on art and philosophy. They had been spacefaring for 10,000 years. Now they were gone, erased as if they had never existed. The fleet did not stop. They could not save this world. They could only try to prevent it from happening to Earth. On the 15th day, they detected something following them. It appeared on their sensors as a distortion in space, moving parallel to the fleet but staying just out of weapons range. "What is it?" Jack asked. Greg studied his tactical display. "I cannot tell, sir. It is not a ship, at least not any kind of ship I recognize. It is more like a fold in space that is moving with purpose. It is tracking us but not attacking. A probe?" Lisa suggested. She was with Jack on the Valiant's bridge, coordinating the fleet's movements. "Maybe," Greg said. "Or maybe it is reporting our position to something else." Jack made a decision. "Let it watch. We are not here to hide. We are here to send a message." The fleet pressed on and the spatial distortion followed. On the 20th day, they reached the center of the silent zone. What they found there defied explanation. It was a structure, but calling it a structure seemed inadequate. It was vast beyond measure, a construct that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Parts of it were visible in normal space, appearing as impossible geometries that hurt to look at. Other parts phased in and out of reality, as if the thing could not decide whether it wanted to exist. "Size?" Jack asked, though he was not sure the question made sense. "Approximately 30,000 kilometers across," Kate said. "But that is just the part we can see in our dimension. The full structure might be much larger." Around the central construct, hundreds of the smaller suppression devices floated in space. They were arranged in a perfect sphere, like planets orbiting a sun, except these orbits defied normal physics. Some of them moved through each other without colliding. Others occupied the same space simultaneously. "Life signs?" Jack asked. Kate shook her head. "Nothing. No organic life anywhere in the system. But there is something else. The structure is generating a massive amount of energy. Not heat or radiation, but something that affects consciousness directly. I am reading organized information patterns like thoughts, but not from any brain we would recognize." "Are you saying the structure is alive?" Lisa asked. "I am saying it is thinking," Kate replied. "Or something in there is thinking." Jack stood up from his command chair. "Open a channel. All frequencies. Every method of communication we have." Kate looked at him. "Sir, what should I say?" "Tell them we are here," Jack said. "Tell them we are from Earth. Tell them we want to talk." The message went out, broadcast in every language humans had ever spoken, translated into mathematics and physics, encoded in light and sound and quantum states. The fleet waited. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then the structure responded. The communication was not words or images. It was pure concept, injected directly into the minds of every human in the fleet. It bypassed language entirely, speaking in the fundamental language of thought itself. The message was simple. Why do you persist? Jack felt the question in his mind like a weight. He responded not with words, but with thoughts, projecting them toward the structure. Because persistence is what we are. Because life continues. Because consciousness is precious. Another pause. Then consciousness is chaos. Consciousness creates suffering. We bring order. We bring peace, Jack understood then. This thing, whatever it was, genuinely believed it was helping. It saw consciousness as a disease, a source of pain and disorder in the universe. By erasing intelligence, it thought it was solving a problem. You are wrong, Jack projected. Consciousness is not chaos. It is meaning. Without it, the universe has no purpose. Without it, beauty is just patterns. Love is just chemistry. Hope is nothing. Hope is delusion, the structure responded. Meaning is illusion. We offer truth. We offer simplicity. We offer an end to struggle. We do not want an end to struggle, Jack said. We want to choose our own path. You have taken that choice from countless civilizations. You have erased minds that had their own meaning, their own purpose. That is not peace. That is extinction. The structure was silent for a long moment. Then, you are anomalous. You persist beyond your designated time. You should have been simplified with the others. Why were you preserved? Because we were hidden, Jack said. Because humanity knew you were coming and prepared. They left us behind to stop you. You cannot stop the great simplification, the structure said. It is inevitable. It is correct. Your Earth will be simplified. All remaining complexity will be resolved. Order will be restored. Jack felt anger rise in him. Then you give us no choice. We came here to talk, to find a peaceful solution. But if you threaten Earth, we will fight. You cannot fight mathematics, the structure said. You cannot fight physics. We are the universe correcting itself. Resistance is irrational. Maybe, Jack said. But we are humans. Irrational is what we do best. He cut the communication and turned to his crew. Battle stations. All ships. We are not leaving here until that thing is destroyed or deactivated. Lisa touched his arm. Jack, look at the size of it. We might not be able to hurt it. Then we will die trying, Jack said. I am not going back to Earth and telling the keepers we gave up. Not after they waited 500,000 years. The fleet formed up for battle. 6,000 warships against an enemy that existed in multiple dimensions. It should have been hopeless, but Jack remembered something. Humanity had not survived as long as they had by accepting hopeless odds. They had survived by being stubborn, creative, and too angry to quit, Kate, he said. That structure. It is using energy, right? Lots of energy to maintain its dimensional state? Yes, sir, Kate said. Enormous amounts. It is drawing power from the star itself, funneling it through some kind of dimensional converter. So if we disrupt that power flow, Jack said slowly, what happens? Kate's eyes widened. The dimensional stability collapses. The structure falls entirely into normal space. Where we can shoot it, Greg grinned. Now that is a plan I can work with. Jack opened the fleet channel. All ships, listen up. We are going to knock this thing into our dimension and then blow it to pieces. It is going to take precision, timing, and a lot of firepower. But if we can pull this off, we stop the silence here and now. Are you ready? 6,000 voices answered as one. Ready, sir? Then let us show them what humanity is made of, Jack said. The battle began. The first wave hit the structure's outer defenses within seconds. 1,000 destroyers opened fire simultaneously, their weapons targeting the suppression devices that orbited the central construct. Missiles streaked through space, followed by beams of concentrated energy. The vacuum lit up like a sun-going supernova. The suppression devices did not fight back. They did not need to. As the weapons reached them, space itself twisted. Missiles veered off course, their guidance systems confused by impossible geometries. Energy beams bent and scattered, hitting nothing. Nuclear warheads detonated harmlessly in empty space. They are redirecting everything, Greg said, watching his tactical display in frustration. They are not blocking our shots. They are changing the shape of space so we miss. Jack nodded. He had expected this. Phase 2. All carriers launch fighters. 200 carrier ships opened their bays. Thousands of small fighter craft poured out, filling space with a swarm of metal and fury. Each fighter was piloted by a human who had been asleep for 500,000 years, now wide awake and angry about what they had found. The fighters moved in patterns too complex for the suppression devices to predict. They wove between the spatial distortions, firing in coordinated bursts. Some missiles still missed, some energy beams still bent away, but enough got through. The first suppression device exploded, then another. Then 10 more. The structure reacted. The spatial distortion that had been following the fleet suddenly multiplied. Dozens of distortions appeared around the human ships, attempting to engulf them. One destroyer vanished into a fold in space and did not come back. A cruiser was torn in half by gravitational shear. Shields holding, Kate reported as the Valiant was hit by a wave of spatial distortion. The ship shook, but the shields held. But we are taking casualties. We have lost 37 ships so far. Keep pushing, Jack ordered. We need to get to that power source. The battle raged for 3 hours. The human fleet fought with everything they had. Ships that could destroy planets focused their fire on devices that bent reality. Weapons designed to crack moons carved pieces out of constructs that barely existed in normal space. And slowly, painfully, they made progress. The suppression devices fell one by one. The fighters darted in and out, too fast for the spatial distortions to catch. The capital ships provided covering fire, their massive weapons creating zones of destruction that even dimensional folding could not completely avoid. Jack watched as the battle unfolded. He saw ships die, saw good people give their lives to protect a world most of them had never even seen in their own time, but he also saw humanity at its finest, stubborn, relentless, refusing to accept defeat even when the universe itself seemed to be fighting against them. "Commander," Kate said suddenly, "the power flow. I can see it now. The structure is drawing energy directly from the star through a dimensional tunnel. If we can collapse that tunnel, the structure loses power. Where do we need to hit?" Jack asked. Kate highlighted a point in space between the star and the structure. "There. That is where the tunnel intersects our dimension. But Commander, it is heavily defended. We would have to punch through at least 50 suppression devices to get a clear shot." "Then that is what we do," Jack said. "All ships' new objective. Form up on the Valiant. We are going to ram through their defenses and hit that power conduit." Lisa's voice came through the communication channel from her own ship. "Jack, that is suicide. We will lose half the fleet." "We will lose the whole fleet if we do not try," Jack replied. "And then we lose Earth." "Lisa, you have command if I do not make it. Promise me you will finish this." There was a pause. Then Lisa said, "I promise. But you better not die, Jack Hayes. That is an order." Jack smiled. "Yes, ma'am." The Valiant led the charge. Behind it, every dreadnought in the fleet followed. They formed a wedge, shields overlapping, creating a wall of force that could smash through almost anything. The destroyers and cruisers spread out to provide covering fire. The carriers hung back, their fighters screening the flanks. The spatial distortions tried to stop them. Folds in space grabbed at the ships, attempting to tear them apart, but the overlapping shields held and the fleet kept moving forward. One dreadnought vanished into a dimensional pocket. Another exploded as gravitational forces crushed it, but the rest pushed through, their weapons firing nonstop, clearing a path through the remaining suppression devices. "Almost there," Kate said. 10 seconds to firing range. The structure seemed to realize what they were doing. Every remaining defense focused on the wedge of dreadnoughts. Space twisted and buckled. Reality itself seemed to reject their presence. Ships shook. Shields failed. People died. But humanity had been fighting impossible odds since the beginning. It was, Jack thought, what they did best. "Fire," he ordered. Every weapon on every dreadnought fired at once. 50 of the most powerful warships ever built by humanity unleashed their full arsenal on a single point in space. The combined energy was equivalent to a supernova compressed into a beam 3 meters wide. The dimensional tunnel collapsed. The structure screamed, not with sound but with a telepathic wail that every human felt in their minds. The impossible geometries began to fall apart, pieces of the construct dropping fully into normal space. Without its power source, it could no longer maintain its dimensional state. "It is working," Kate shouted. "The structure is destabilizing." "All ships," Jack broadcast. "Hit it with everything you have. Do not let it recover." The entire fleet opened fire. 6,000 warships, minus the casualties they had taken, poured every weapon they had into the structure. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic slugs, exotic weapons that tore at the fabric of space itself. The structure tried to adapt, tried to shift back into higher dimensions. But without power, it was trapped in normal space. And in normal space, it could be hurt. The first crack appeared across the surface of the central construct. Then another, then thousands. The structure was breaking apart, its impossible architecture crumbling under an assault it had never been designed to withstand. One final scream echoed through the minds of the fleet. Then the structure exploded. The explosion was like nothing Jack had ever seen. It was not just physical. It was dimensional, metaphysical, reality itself convulsing as the construct died. The blast wave expanded outward, but instead of destroying the human ships, it passed through them like a ghost. And in its wake, something changed. Jack felt it immediately. The wrongness that had filled the region. The sensation of the universe being too ordered, too simple, suddenly lifted. The background hum of quantum chaos returned. The universe felt alive again. "Report," Jack said, his voice shaking. Kate was crying as she looked at her console. "The suppression field is collapsing, all of it. Every device for 100 light-years is going offline. The effect is cascading, spreading outward. Commander, we did it. The silence is ending." Around the fleet, space began to shimmer. The affected worlds, their civilizations erased, remained lost. Nothing could bring back what had been taken. But the spread had stopped. No more worlds would fall silent. No more consciousness would be erased. "Casualties?" Jack asked quietly. Greg's voice was heavy. "We lost 1,200 ships. Approximately 48,000 personnel. But Commander, we saved trillions. Every world in the path of the expansion, including Earth." Jack closed his eyes. 48,000 people who had sacrificed everything. Who had woken up to find their world gone and had still chosen to fight for a future they would barely understand. Heroes did not seem like a strong enough word. "Take us home," he said. The journey back took 4 weeks. The fleet moved slowly. Damaged ships limping along, everyone exhausted beyond words. But they moved with pride. They had done what they came to do. When they emerged from faster-than-light near Earth, the Keepers were waiting. Every one of them had gathered, millions strong, covering the continents and the orbital habitats. They broadcast their joy and gratitude across every frequency, welcoming the defenders home. Jack stood on the bridge of the Valiant as they approached Earth. The planet looked the same as when they had left, blue and beautiful. But now it had a future. "Communications coming in from the Keepers," Kate said. "They are asking if we succeeded." Jack smiled. "Tell them yes. Tell them Earth is safe. The watch continues," he paused, then added, "and tell them humanity keeps its promises, even across 500,000 years." As the fleet moved into orbit, Jack thought about what came next. They would rebuild. They would heal. They would continue to defend Earth until humanity returned, or until the universe itself ended. It was what they had been built for. The stars were no longer silent. Consciousness had been given a reprieve. And somewhere in dimensions beyond normal space, perhaps humanity was watching. Perhaps they were proud. The fleet had awakened. The enemy had been defeated. And Earth, after 500,000 years of waiting, was no longer alone. Humanity's last defenders had come home.